My name is Jonathan Goforth with Platinum Realty. Thanks for watching. Today's topic is the number one reason to buy rental properties. This is the number one reason that you and me should be buying rental properties. And the reason is our first-time buyers are too low. Buyers. These are first-time buyers who should be in the market right now buying their first home, investing in their first home. What are they doing instead? They're renting. There's some reasons why. We're going to look at this. But this video is on the number one reason to buy rental properties. And it's because of a lack of first-time buyers into the real estate market itself. You know, we had a very strong slowdown of first-time buyers before COVID. Back in 2017, 18, and 19, we were seeing first-time buyers drop. And we're going to talk about why. COVID enhanced this greatly, and it has changed a lot of our real estate market. And this is a lot of you who are realtors, real estate agents from all around the country. You're going to appreciate this video because there is no more affordable housing. I don't know if you've noticed this in your city. You probably have. You know, first-time buyers really don't have much to go look at. There is not just a shortage of affordable housing, there isn't any. When you look at the smallest homes in your area, they are much more expensive than they were 5 years ago, 7, 8 years ago. And what that has done, it has knocked out these first-time buyers from being able to purchase a home. What has that done instead? It's making them rent. So another reason, there are the cheap houses. Your lowest level of price point in your area, they're being bought up by investors. Do you know why? Two reasons. These investors want to flip them, or most likely they want to buy them and hold them in their inventory for rentals. Why are they doing that? Why are these investors, so many of them, in the marketplace now? Because it is the number one reason to buy rentals. The first-time buyers are too low. This means first-time renters is at an all-time high. Investors know this. You know, if you drive around your area or go out to the suburbs where the land is, go look around the suburbs, and what are you going to see built in probably more so than ever before are apartment complexes. There are lots of them, and these are big apartment complexes. This is probably where you live. This is out-of-state money. These are national corporations building large apartment complexes. Before they do this for, say, hundreds of millions of dollars, they have done more research into the market than you and I have. They know the market before they are going to get banks to invest into these massive loans. Do you know why you're seeing so many apartment buildings being built, and being bought by other investors? It's because it's the number one reason to buy rentals, being that the first-time buyers is so low. And so another reason that our buyers in the real estate market are so low, they don't want old houses, because old houses need remodeling. And a lot of these first-time buyers, they don't want to mess with it. They would much rather have a brand new apartment. You know, these new apartment complexes, they have pools that are really nice. It's kind of like living in a resort. They've got a gym. They're just really nice. And so the supply is being built to fill this demand. A lot of people simply don't have the money. These first-time buyers who are now renters, they simply don't have the extra cash to go in and recarpet, remodel, fix up bathrooms, fix up the kitchen, put on a new roof. And it's also very hard to compete. When you go into a house that needs a lot of work, it's been on the market a few hours, although the market has slowed down. It's cooled off some in the last couple of years. But let's say you are competing as a first-time buyer, doing an FHA loan, putting the minimum down. Maybe you're doing a VA loan, putting no money down, and you're competing against investors on the same house. And these investors, they're paying cash, and they will overpay to get it. We're going to talk about why an investor, which is hopefully going to be you, would overpay to get these homes. Another problem that the buyers have, thanks to COVID, inflation is at a record high. Now it's slowing down some due to the supply coming in from other countries and all that, driving prices higher and higher. But now we have tariffs, and we're going to start seeing the impact of those tariffs as we go into later in 2025 this year and then into 2026. We're going to see more impact from inflation. People's salaries, they are not keeping up with the rapid inflation. And so that gap is widening. And not only do we have the cost of a gallon of paint, we're in the middle of staining my deck. You should go to Home Depot or Lowe's or wherever you want to go buy stain and look at the cost of a gallon of stain. It's crazy. And not just the stain, it's the brushes, the drop cloths, all the supplies in order to stain. Salaries, people's savings and income, it's not keeping up with this inflation of the cost to do remodeling. Now, another reason to buy rentals, the demand is high. These investors, the big ones, they know that. That's why you're seeing massive sized apartment complexes being built all over the country, because the demand is so high. Even here in the Midwest, I keep thinking they're going to overbuild. They're going to have too many apartment complexes. I mean, I live out in the suburbs and there are so many apartment complexes, but it's not just in the suburbs. They're going downtown in the metro area, downtown, and they are knocking down blighted areas to build more apartment complexes, because the demand for rent is so high because our first-time buyers is too low. So, what does this mean? There's a general feeling from so many young people today, I see it everywhere, that they would rather have everything taken care of for them than to do it themselves. And this mindset that they would rather go rent instead of buying a fixer-upper and putting in a lot of sweat equity into their own investment. A lot of them just don't want to do that. And so this is where you come in as an investor. It's kind of like, I'm going to keep picking on young people, but Starbucks thrives off young people. They would rather go every morning and pay for an overpriced coffee instead of making their own coffee at home a lot cheaper. And we see this trend, this unique mindset. Now, the problem with renters is when we remove them out of the real estate market and they're no longer going to be a buyer and buy their own home, they're going to rent instead. Real estate is the number one way to build wealth. It has always been this way in this country. Real estate is where you build long-term wealth. And when you get a record number of buyers who are not buying a home, then when it comes to real estate, you need time. You need time for the investment. These are long-term investments. You need 30 years to pay off your 30-year mortgage. Unless you're going to pay it off a little bit sooner, you need time. Time is on your side. So the younger that these buyers would buy their first home and begin paying down their loan, then they use the equity from that to buy a bigger home. And so the problem is, without these young people building their own wealth, what is going to happen to this young generation? Because we've got a record number of renters. So you, if you are watching this and you are renting, the question to you is, would you rather pay off your own mortgage and build wealth? And yeah, you're going to have your own maintenance, but you're also going to have tax advantages of the interest on your loan, and the property tax, county property tax, is also deductible if you own your own home. Or if you are renting, you are paying the mortgage of the landlord. You are still paying a mortgage. Just are you going to pay your own and invest in your own wealth? Or are you going to make your landlord rich as they pay off their loan? If you're a real estate agent, this creates a problem. This is why I'm doing the video. I am a full-time real estate agent. And over the last 2 or 3 years especially, we have seen the market cool off drastically. And a lot of the problem is we're missing our first-time buyer. So when I was new at this 28 years ago, my career early on was built on my first-time buyers. And they typically will own this home for 4 or 5 years. And then they're going to outgrow it. And they're going to buy another home. They will have paid off enough of the equity of the loan, so they have some equity. While they're paying off their loan, the home itself is slowly appreciating, is growing in value. And so they can take their extra little amount of equity, plus over those 4 or 5 years, their income should have grown. And so that gives them the ability to sell that home, which is where I come in. You come in as a real estate agent. You get to sell that home and you get to help them find another home. And they upgrade into a bigger home. And so that's where this comes from. The problem that we have now, one of the unique things, because the demand is so high for rentals, the cost of renting is also at a record high. And so for you as an investor, this is the number one, it feeds off the number one reason to buy rentals. The demand is so high that you can now rent these same properties significantly higher than we were 3 years ago, 5 years ago, and these renters are going to pay it because the demand is so high. And that's why you're seeing so many apartments being built everywhere. So with that, what should you be buying? I have a duplex that I bought in 2020. This is a good example. Part of my fear as a real estate investor, I have rental properties because it is the number one way to build wealth, is could they build too many apartments? Is that going to happen in the future? Will they reach a saturation point where they simply have overbuilt too many, and now the demand for all these apartments is not so high? The supply is too high, and the demand kind of falls off, and we see vacancies. Right now, they will build an apartment complex, and before it's finished, you will see a huge banner hanging on the thing, now leasing. And they will lease these out. They will get renters in advance, signing up special promotions so that they can get ready to move in as soon as opening weekend, and they will probably rent out most of that building in advance because the demand is so high. One thing I am looking for as a landlord, as a real estate investor, I like duplexes for a couple of reasons. I can't afford apartment complexes. You probably can't either. They're millions of dollars and they're risky. You had better have those things primarily rented all the time, because you're going to have a very large mortgage on an 8-plex or a 12-plex or bigger units. The nice thing that I like about duplexes, I have a management company, and they told me when I bought it, it's an older duplex. It's probably about 40 years old. And my management company said if I would fence the backyard, chop it into two halves, and allow for pets, we'll get a pet deposit. It's going to have to be recarpeted anyway ever so often. If I would allow for pets, it opens up a huge extra market that the apartments can't typically do. Most apartments will not allow dogs, or if so, they have big restrictions. With duplexes, or even 4-plexes, if you can find those, you're going to have a garage, probably, hopefully with your property, that also makes yours more attractive, and you can allow pets. They have their own yard. And no neighbors except for your one adjoining person. Huge, different kind of market than the ones who are investing into rentals of the apartments. Now, let's talk about the difference between getting into rentals or flipping. So you are the one wanting to do this. You're the one wanting to invest into the real estate market as an investor. And so real estate investing is what your thing is. And so you want to be the landlord. you want to buy rentals. You want to be the landlord because you know all this now. You know the demand is so high. You know there's a record number of renters because there's a record low number of first-time buyers. So you want to cash in on this. And so if you want to flip, there's two concepts to this, and they are opposite concepts. If you want to flip, that means you're going to buy a house. You are looking for a deal that would allow you to fix it up and turn around and sell it again as fast as you can. It's speed. Sell it as fast as you can. You are not going to want to hold this property very long. You want to buy it, hold it for the shortest amount of time, get it fixed up, and get it relisted to get it sold. And then you make some money. You'll pay some capital gains, probably, unless you're going to roll that over into another property. And you want to take your growth, your profit, and you do it again. And you're always looking for more houses that you can flip. Flipping is fast turnover. We're not talking about flipping. We're talking about buying long-term investment properties for renting. You are not going to rent out the houses you're going to flip. You're in there working. You're in there painting. You're remodeling a little bit. You're getting it ready to flip it. And you get a buyer. You get it sold quickly. We're going to talk about the rental market on this whole video. We're not flipping on these. These are long-term investments. And that's why. That is why you see investors trying to grab as many of the entry-level homes as possible. They may not, they may have to overpay. They may not be able to cash flow the first year as well. But they know at the speed that rent keeps growing because the demand is so high, they'll be able to raise the rent over the next 2 or 3 years, and they will cash flow. And they, you know, all of us who own rental properties, there are additional tax advantages to own long-term rental properties. You can depreciate the property itself over time. Everything you do year after year is also deductible. And if you're going to get loans on these, then you want to, you're not going to make a lot of money on each one. Your mortgage payment is being paid by your renter. They pay you rent, you pay your mortgage, you pocket the little bit of profit, and that's how you make money off buying rentals. This is long term. In fact, I would go so far as to say the rental properties that I buy, I don't have a plan of ever selling them. I'm going to depreciate them out. I certainly don't want to sell it later. I'd have to recapture all that depreciation. That's the difference between rentals and flipping. But this is why you should buy rental properties. The number one reason, again, first-time buyers purchasing homes is at a record low, and we're holding here. And be honest, I don't see this changing anytime soon. Neither do the big rental corporations. That's why they're investing hundreds of millions of dollars into all these giant rental apartment complexes everywhere. Get in on this. Cash in to make yourself wealthy, and this is how you do it. You buy rentals. Thanks so much for watching. Please subscribe, give this video a like, and I'll catch you on the next video.